What if I told you that some bodies don't decay, that centuries after death, they look as though they're simply asleep? These aren't horror stories or urban legends, they're real. The Catholic Church calls this incorruptibility, a phenomenon that science struggles to explain, and faith embraces as divine. Imagine stepping into a cathedral and gazing upon someone who passed away hundreds of years ago, yet their face is serene, their hands as intact as the day they were buried. It's as if time itself has been held back, leaving us with more questions than answers. How does this happen? What does it mean? In this video, we'll explore the extraordinary stories of 12 incorrupt saints whose preserved bodies continue to inspire awe and wonder. These saints aren't just miracles of preservation. They're living histories of faith, sacrifice, and the inexplicable. From the mystical Padre Pio, whose stigmata baffled even medical experts, to the humble Saint Bernadette, whose visions at Lourdes changed the lives of millions, each story is a portal to the divine. What's even more incredible is how these incorrupt bodies challenge everything we think we know about life, death, and eternity. Are they proof of a higher power, or are they nature's most enigmatic miracles? Regardless of what you believe, these stories will leave you amazed. Get ready to dive into a journey that's equal parts history, mystery, and faith. These saints' bodies might defy science, but their stories will touch your heart. Let's begin. 1. Padre Pio of Pietrelcina, the mystical saint. Just saying his name evokes awe among the faithful. His life was a tapestry of mystical experiences, profound faith, and undeniable miracles. Born Francesco Forgione on May 25, 1887, in a small Italian village, he was destined for a life that would leave an indelible mark on the 20th century. From a young age, Francesco was different. While other children played, he spent hours in prayer, often speaking about seeing angels and saints as though they were everyday companions. At the age of 15, he joined the Capuchin friars and took the name Pio. His devotion to prayer, penance, and sacrifice quickly set him apart. But in 1918, something happened that would define his life and legacy. Padre Pio received the stigmata, the wounds of Christ. These marks on his hands, feet, and side bled continuously, causing him immense physical pain but also deep spiritual joy. When asked about his suffering, he would simply say, "The cross is the ladder to heaven." But the stigmata wasn't the only extraordinary aspect of his life. Padre Pio was said to possess mystical gifts that confounded those around him. Bilocation, the ability to appear in two places at once, was a phenomenon associated with him. Witnesses claimed to have seen him thousands of miles away while he was still at the monastery. Then there was his uncanny ability to read souls. During confessions, he could reveal sins that penitents hadn't confessed, guiding them toward true repentance. Padre Pio's fame spread far beyond the confines of his monastery. People flocked to San Giovanni Rotondo from all over the world, seeking his counsel, blessings, and miraculous intercessions. He would often spend hours in the confessional, listening to the struggles of the faithful and offering them solace. Those who met him spoke of his piercing gaze, as though he could see into their very souls. When he passed away on September 23, 1968, at the age of 81, millions mourned the loss of a man many already considered a living saint. But the story didn't end there. In 2008, his body was exhumed as part of the canonization process, and to the astonishment of all, it was found remarkably well preserved. Scientists had no explanation. His skin, hair, and nails looked as if they belonged to someone who had just passed away. For the Church, this wasn't just a mystery, it was a miracle. The incorrupt state of his body became a symbol of divine grace, further solidifying his role as a figure of faith and holiness. Today, his incorrupt body lies in San Giovanni Rotondo, where millions visit each year to pray, reflect, and seek his intercession. Even in death, Padre Pio continues to inspire and captivate. His life, his miracles, and the incorrupt state of his body remind us of the mysteries of faith that transcend human understanding. 2. Saint Bernadette Soubirous, the visionary of Lourdes. Picture a frail young girl kneeling before a grotto, her gaze fixed on a luminous figure. This was Bernadette Soubirous, humble, poor, and chosen. Born on January 7, 1844 in Lourdes, France, Bernadette was the eldest of 9 children in a family struggling to survive. Life wasn't easy for the Soubirous family. Their home was a converted jail cell, damp and cramped. Bernadette herself was often sickly, suffering from asthma and other ailments. And yet, this unassuming girl would become the center of one of the most famous Marian apparitions in history. In 1858, at the age of 14, Bernadette experienced a series of visions that would change her life and the town of Lourdes forever. While gathering firewood near the grotto of Massabielle, Bernadette described seeing a lady dressed in white with a blue sash, a rosary in her hands, and golden roses on her feet. The lady, who Bernadette would later identify as the Virgin Mary, asked her to return to the grotto for 15 consecutive days. During these apparitions, Bernadette was given specific instructions: to dig in the ground until a spring emerged, to ask for a chapel to be built, and to call for penance and prayer. Despite facing skepticism from her own family, the church, and townspeople, Bernadette's humility and steadfastness never wavered. The spring she uncovered became a source of miraculous healings, and Lourdes transformed into one of the most important pilgrimage sites in the world. But for Bernadette, fame brought little comfort. She longed for a quiet, simple life. At the age of 22, she joined the Sisters of Charity in Nevers, dedicating her remaining years to prayer and service. Bernadette's life was marked by suffering. She endured ridicule for her visions and battled chronic illness until her death at the young age of 35 in 1879. Yet her serenity and devotion remained unshaken, even in her final moments. What makes Bernadette's story even more extraordinary is what happened after her death. As part of the canonization process, her body was exhumed 3 times between 1909 and 1925. To the astonishment of all, her body was found to be remarkably well preserved, free from the decay typically expected. Even her skin retained a lifelike quality. Today, Bernadette's incorrupt body rests in a glass reliquary in the chapel of St. Gildard in Nevers. Visitors from around the world come to see her, drawn by the purity and peace that seem to emanate from her serene face. For many, Bernadette is not just a saint, but a reminder of the power of humility, faith, and divine grace. Her story reminds us that miracles aren't just about the extraordinary, they're also about finding the sacred in the simple. 3. St. John Vianney, the holy cure of Ars. If there's one saint who embodies tireless dedication to faith and humility, it's St. John Vianney, affectionately known as the Holy Cure of Ars. Born on May 8, 1786, in Dardilly, France, John grew up during the turbulence of the French Revolution. His early life was shaped by simplicity, hard work, and a deep reverence for the faith his family practiced in secret during times of persecution. From a young age, John felt drawn to the priesthood, but the path was far from easy. His academic struggles, particularly with Latin, made seminary training a daunting challenge. But what he lacked in intellectual ability, he more than made up for with unwavering determination and devotion. After years of perseverance, he was ordained in 1815 and sent to the small, unremarkable village of Ars. At first glance, Ars seemed like a forgotten place, spiritually barren and disconnected from the church. But John Vianney saw it differently. To him, it was a field ripe for a harvest of faith. He devoted himself to his parishioners with a tireless energy that would soon make him legendary. John's life revolved around the confessional, where he would spend up to 18 hours a day listening to the sins and struggles of his flock. People came not just from Ars, but from far and wide, drawn by his reputation as a confessor with an extraordinary ability to read hearts. He had a way of addressing sins people hadn't confessed, offering them a path to true repentance and spiritual renewal. Despite his growing fame, John Vianney lived with an ascetic simplicity that inspired everyone who met him. He often slept only a few hours a night and sustained himself on little more than potatoes. His deep humility and trust in God kept him grounded even as thousands sought him out for spiritual guidance. But John's ministry wasn't without challenges. He faced frequent attacks from the devil, who tried to disrupt his work through terrifying noises and even physical harassment. These trials, however, only strengthened his resolve. John often joked about these encounters, referring to the devil as the Grappin and dismissing him as a nuisance. When St. John Vianney passed away on August 4, 1859, The village of Ars had been transformed into a spiritual haven. His funeral drew tens of thousands, a testament to the profound impact he had made in his lifetime. Years later, during the process of his canonization, John's body was exhumed and found to be remarkably preserved. Today, his incorrupt body lies in a glass reliquary in the Basilica of Ars, where pilgrims come to seek his intercession. St. John Vianney's life reminds us that humility, perseverance, and a heart open to God can achieve the extraordinary. His incorrupt body stands as a tangible testament to a life fully devoted to faith, inspiring countless people even now. 4. Saint Catherine Labouré, the saint of the miraculous medal. In a quiet chapel in Paris, a young nun knelt in prayer, unaware that her life was about to change forever. Catherine Labouré, born on May 2, 1806, in a small French village, had always felt a special closeness to the Virgin Mary. Orphaned at the age of 9, she entrusted her life to the care of the Blessed Mother, a devotion that would define her destiny. At the age of 24, Catherine joined the Daughters of Charity, an order founded by Saint Vincent de Paul. It was here, in the convent chapel at Rue du Bac, that Catherine experienced a series of extraordinary apparitions. On July 18, 1830, she was awakened by a mysterious child who led her to the chapel. There, Catherine encountered the Virgin Mary, seated on a chair, surrounded by radiant light. Mary spoke to her, entrusting her with a mission that would ripple across the Catholic world. The Virgin appeared to Catherine multiple times, revealing the design for what would become the miraculous medal. The medal depicted Mary standing on a globe, rays of light streaming from her hands, with the words, "O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us who have recourse to thee." Mary promised abundant graces to all who wore the medal with faith. Catherine's task was clear: bring the medal to the world. She shared her visions with her spiritual director, who sought church approval. Soon, the miraculous medal was distributed, spreading rapidly and earning its name due to the countless miracles and conversions attributed to it. Despite the global impact of her mission, Catherine remained humble and withdrawn. She spent the rest of her life serving the poor and sick, never seeking recognition for the miraculous work she had facilitated. Catherine passed away in 1876, her life of quiet service complete. When her body was exhumed 56 years later as part of the beatification process, it was found to be incorrupt, a striking confirmation of her holiness. Today, her body lies in a glass reliquary in the chapel at Rue du Bac, where pilgrims come to honor her and seek her intercession. Saint Catherine Labourè's story is a testament to humility and obedience. She reminds us that even the simplest acts of faith can lead to miracles that change the world. 5. Saint Rita of Cascia, the saint of the impossible. Saint Rita of Cascia is often called the saint of the impossible for her ability to inspire hope in the most difficult situations. Born in 1381 in the remote village of Roccaporina, Italy, Rita's life was anything but easy. As a young girl, she dreamed of dedicating her life to God as a nun, but her parents had other plans. To settle a local feud, they arranged for her to marry a man named Paolo Mancini. Paolo was known for his temper and violent nature. Their marriage was turbulent, marked by arguments and moments of despair. Yet through her unyielding patience, kindness, and prayer, Rita began to soften Paolo's heart. Eventually, his behavior changed, and the couple found peace. Tragically, just as their relationship was healing, Paolo was murdered by enemies from his past. Rita's trials didn't end there. Her two sons, angered by their father's death, sought revenge. Fearing for their souls, Rita prayed fervently, asking God to take them if it meant saving them from sin. Not long after, both boys succumbed to illness, leaving Rita grief-stricken but steadfast in her faith. Freed from her familial obligations, Rita pursued her dream of joining the Augustinian convent in Cascia. At first, the nuns refused her request, worried that her husband's violent legacy might follow her. Undeterred, Rita prayed for divine intervention. According to tradition, one night her patron saints, St. John the Baptist, St. Augustine, and St. Nicholas of Tolentino appeared and miraculously transported her into the convent. Moved by this divine sign, the nuns allowed her to join. As a nun, Rita devoted herself to prayer, penance, and service. During a mystical experience, she received a stigmata-like wound on her forehead, representing the crown of thorns worn by Christ. The wound emitted a sweet fragrance and remained with her for the rest of her life, serving as a symbol of her unity with Christ's suffering. Rita passed away peacefully in 1457, her life a testament to forgiveness, perseverance, and faith. Her sanctity was recognized quickly, and miracles attributed to her intercession spread her fame far and wide. When her body was exhumed years later, it was found to be incorrupt, showing no signs of decay. Today, St. Rita's body is enshrined in a glass sarcophagus in the Basilica of St. Rita in Cascia. Pilgrims from around the world visit her tomb, praying to the saint of the impossible for help in their own struggles. Her incorrupt body, still intact after over 5 centuries, is a powerful reminder of her enduring connection to God. Rita's life inspires those facing challenges to embrace forgiveness and trust in divine providence. Her story proves that no trial is too great when met with faith, love, and perseverance. 6. Saint Clare of Assisi, the Bride of Poverty. In the hills of Assisi, Italy, a young woman named Clare was born into a life of privilege in 1193. Her family was wealthy, her future seemingly secure, but Clare's heart yearned for something more profound. Inspired by the teachings of her fellow townsman, St. Francis of Assisi, Clare made a life-altering decision to abandon her riches and dedicate herself to God through a life of radical poverty and humility. At the age of 18, Clare fled her family home in the dead of night to meet Francis at the small chapel of Porciuncula. There, she symbolically cast aside her old life, cutting her hair and exchanging her luxurious garments for a simple habit. This act of defiance shocked her family, who tried desperately to bring her back. But Clare's resolve was unshakable. She found refuge among religious communities, where her sincerity and faith began to shine. Soon after, Clare's sister Agnes joined her, and together they laid the foundation of a new religious order, the Poor Clares. Living in the convent of San Damiano, Clare led the order with an unyielding devotion to poverty and simplicity. She insisted on living without material possessions, relying entirely on the generosity of others and the providence of God. This radical lifestyle inspired countless others to join her cause, spreading the influence of the Poor Clares far beyond Assisi. Clare's faith wasn't just inspiring, it was miraculous. When an army of Saracens approached Assisi and threatened the convent, Clare took the Blessed Sacrament and held it aloft at the gates, praying for divine protection. Miraculously, the invaders retreated without a fight, leaving the city unharmed. This event solidified Clare's reputation as a spiritual warrior, unwavering in her trust in God. After decades of leadership, Clare passed away on August 11, 1253. Her sanctity was recognized immediately, and she was canonized just 2 years later by Pope Alexander IV. But Clare's story didn't end with her death. Centuries later, during her exhumation, her body was found to be incorrupt, a miraculous testament to her purity and devotion. Today, Clare's incorrupt body rests in the Basilica of St. Clare in Assisi, where thousands of pilgrims visit annually to honor her memory and seek her intercession. Her legacy endures, not only through the Poor Clares, who continue to live according to her principles, but also through the countless lives inspired by her unwavering dedication to faith and simplicity. Clare's life is a profound reminder that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in spiritual treasures. Her story continues to illuminate the path for those seeking a deeper connection to God through humility and service. 7. Saint Vincent de Paul, the Heart of Charity. Born in 1581 in a humble French village, Saint Vincent de Paul rose from modest beginnings to become one of the greatest champions of charity in the Catholic Church. His life is a testament to the transformative power of compassion and service, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire millions. Vincent's early years were marked by hard work and a thirst for knowledge. Recognizing his intelligence and potential, A local benefactor enabled him to pursue an education, eventually leading to his ordination as a priest at just 19. But Vincent's early priesthood was far from the selfless life he later became known for. Initially, he sought comfort and stability. That all changed when he experienced the stark reality of poverty. A turning point came when Vincent was captured by pirates during a sea voyage and sold into slavery in Tunisia. For 2 years, he endured harsh conditions, but his deep faith and determination never wavered. He eventually converted his master to Christianity, gaining his freedom and returning to France with a renewed purpose. Back in France, Vincent began his true mission, dedicating his life to serving the poor. He founded the Congregation of the Mission, also known as the Vincentians, an order of priests who traveled to rural areas to provide spiritual guidance and material aid to those in need. His passion for charity didn't stop there. Alongside Saint Louise de Marillac, he co-founded the Daughters of Charity, an innovative order of nuns focused on active service to the poor. At the time, most nuns lived cloistered lives, making this a groundbreaking step in church history. Vincent's initiatives were as practical as they were spiritual. He established hospitals for the sick, orphanages for abandoned children, and homes for the elderly and disabled. His commitment to education and vocational training for the underprivileged helped many escape the cycle of poverty. Vincent's work didn't just provide relief, it transformed lives and communities. When Vincent passed away in 1660, his legacy was already secure. But miracles associated with his intercession only amplified his sanctity. Years after his death, his body was exhumed and found to be incorrupt. Today, his incorrupt heart is preserved in the Chapel of the Daughters of Charity in Paris, while his body rests in a glass reliquary at the Church of Saint Vincent de Paul. Saint Vincent de Paul's life serves as a powerful reminder that faith, when combined with action, can change the world. His enduring legacy continues to inspire countless acts of kindness and compassion, proving that love in action truly knows no bounds. 8. Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, the Apostle of the Sacred Heart. In the quiet town of Vierzefrais, France, a girl named Margaret Mary Alacoque was born on July 22, 1647. From an early age, her life was marked by suffering and an extraordinary devotion to God. Losing her father at a young age, Margaret Mary endured years of hardship under the care of distant relatives. Despite her struggles, she found solace in prayer and developed an intense love for the Eucharist. At the age of 24, Margaret Mary entered the Visitation Convent at Paray-le-Monial, seeking to dedicate her life entirely to Christ. It was here that her life took a miraculous turn. Over the course of several years, Margaret Mary experienced a series of mystical visions in which Jesus appeared to her, revealing his Sacred Heart, a symbol of divine love burning with compassion for humanity. In these visions, Jesus spoke of his deep sorrow over humanity's indifference to his love and requested that Margaret Mary spread devotion to his Sacred Heart. Despite her initial hesitation, she faithfully embraced this mission, which would define her legacy. She promoted the practice of receiving Holy Communion on the first Friday of every month, a devotion that continues to this day. Margaret Mary's revelations were met with skepticism from both her superiors and fellow nuns. But her spiritual director, the Jesuit priest Saint Claude de la Colombière, believed in her experiences and helped spread the devotion far and wide. Over time, her message gained acceptance, and the Sacred Heart devotion became a central aspect of Catholic spirituality. Margaret Mary's life was not without suffering. She endured physical illness and emotional trials with remarkable patience, offering her pain as a sacrifice for the conversion of souls. She passed away on October 17, 1690, at the age of 43, leaving behind a legacy of love and devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. When her body was exhumed years later, it was found to be incorrupt, further affirming her sanctity. Today, her incorrupt remains lie in the Chapel of the Visitation in Paray-le-Monial, where pilgrims come to honor her and pray for her intercession. Saint Margaret Mary's story is a reminder of the boundless love of Christ and the transformative power of trusting in divine mercy. Her mission, inspired by the Sacred Heart, continues to touch hearts around the world. Saint Francis Xavier, the Apostle of the East. Born on April 7, 1506, in the castle of Xavier in Navarre, Spain, Saint Francis Xavier's life is a testament to the power of missionary zeal and unwavering faith. As a young man, Francis displayed remarkable intelligence and ambition, eventually earning a master's degree at the prestigious University of Paris. It was there he encountered Saint Ignatius of Loyola, whose passion for Christ inspired Francis to rethink his priorities. Initially skeptical of Ignatius's mission, Francis eventually embraced his calling, joining the small group of companions that would become the Society of Jesus, known as the Jesuits. Ordained a priest in 1537, Francis's missionary journey began just a few years later. In 1541, he set sail for India under the patronage of King John III of Portugal. The voyage was long and arduous, lasting over a year, but Francis's spirit remained unshaken. When he arrived in Goa, he was struck by the stark contrast between the grandeur of the Portuguese colonies and the dire poverty of the local population. Moved by compassion, Francis dedicated himself to preaching the gospel and ministering to the poor and marginalized. Francis's ability to connect with people was extraordinary. He learned local languages, embraced native customs, and spoke with a sincerity that won hearts. His efforts in India led to thousands of baptisms and the establishment of vibrant Christian communities that still thrive today. But Francis's missionary zeal couldn't be contained to one region. He traveled to Southeast Asia, including Malacca, the Moluccas, and other islands, often enduring dangerous conditions to reach people who had never heard of Christ. In 1549, Francis set his sights on Japan, determined to bring the gospel to a land known for its complexity and cultural pride. Despite initial resistance, Francis successfully introduced Christianity to Japan, converting many and establishing a foundation for future missionaries. His ultimate dream was to reach China, a land he viewed as the gateway to evangelizing the East. However, this dream was never realized. In 1552, while waiting to gain entry into China, Francis fell ill and passed away on the island of Shangchuan, just off the Chinese coast. When his body was exhumed months later, it was found to be incorrupt, a testament to his holiness. Today, his remains rest in the Basilica of Bom Jesus in Goa, India, where pilgrims from around the world come to honor the saint who dedicated his life to spreading the gospel. Saint Francis Xavier's life exemplifies courage, faith, and a profound love for humanity. His legacy lives on in the Christian communities he established, the countless lives he touched, and the enduring inspiration he provides for those who seek to serve others selflessly. 10. Saint John Neumann, the builder of faith. Born on March 28, 1811, in what is now the Czech Republic, Saint John Neumann was destined for a life of extraordinary service to the Church. From a young age, John demonstrated a passion for learning and a deep devotion to his faith. After completing his studies in theology, he desired to be ordained as a priest, but his homeland faced a surplus of clergy, leaving him without a parish. Refusing to abandon his calling, John set his sights on America, a land in desperate need of priests. In 1836, John arrived in New York City with little more than his unwavering faith and a determination to serve. He was ordained just weeks later and assigned to a vast rural parish in western New York. There, he ministered to scattered immigrant communities, often traveling miles on foot or horseback to reach his flock. John's humility and tireless dedication made him beloved among the people he served. Seeking a deeper sense of community and mission, John joined the Redemptorists, becoming the first member of the congregation to take vows in America. His work took him to Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and other cities, where he helped build churches, schools, and communities of faith. In 1852, he was appointed Bishop of Philadelphia, a position that would define his legacy. As bishop, John focused on establishing a robust Catholic education system. He founded over 100 schools, ensuring that children, especially those from immigrant families, had access to both religious and academic education. His efforts helped lay the foundation for the Catholic school system in the United States. John's life was marked by profound humility and simplicity. He was often seen walking the streets of Philadelphia, quietly ministering to the sick and the poor. Despite his immense workload, he never lost his personal touch, offering words of encouragement and compassion to those in need. On January 5, 1860, John passed away suddenly at the age of 48, leaving behind a legacy of faith, service, and education. When his body was exhumed during the canonization process, it was found to be incorrupt, a testament to his sanctity. Today, his remains lie in the shrine of St. John Neumann in Philadelphia, where pilgrims honor the man who built a foundation of faith for generations to come. St. John Neumann's life reminds us that even the simplest acts of service can create lasting change. His unwavering commitment to his faith and his community continues to inspire Catholics worldwide. 11. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux, the Little Flower. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux, affectionately known as the Little Flower, has touched countless hearts with her profound spirituality and simplicity. Born Marie-Françoise Thérèse Martin on January 2, 1873, in Alençon, France, she grew up in a deeply religious family. Her parents, Louis and Zélie Martin, were later canonized, reflecting the sanctity of the household that nurtured Thérèse's remarkable faith. From a young age, Thérèse displayed an extraordinary love for God. After her mother's death, her family moved to Lisieux, where she grew closer to her father and sisters. At just 14, Thérèse felt a strong calling to join the Carmelite convent. Despite her youth, she pleaded her case directly to Pope Leo XIII during a pilgrimage to Rome, receiving special permission to enter at the age of 15. Life in the convent wasn't easy. Thérèse endured illness, spiritual dryness, and misunderstandings from others. Yet she found holiness in the small, everyday acts of love and sacrifice. Her little way, a path of spiritual childhood marked by trust in God and doing small things with great love, became her defining legacy. Thérèse wrote extensively about her spiritual journey in her autobiography, Story of a Soul. Her words reveal a soul deeply in love with God and committed to spreading His love in the simplest ways. She once said, "I will spend my heaven doing good on earth," a promise that has resonated with the faithful for over a century. Thérèse's life was tragically short. She died of tuberculosis on September 30th, 1897, at just 24 years old. But even in her suffering, she radiated peace, trusting in God's infinite mercy. After her death, miracles attributed to her intercession spread rapidly, leading to her canonization in 1925. Although her body was not found to be fully incorrupt, her preserved relics continue to inspire devotion worldwide. Pilgrims visit the Basilica of Sainte Thérèse in Lisieux, built in her honor, to seek her intercession and to emulate her profound trust in God. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux reminds us that sanctity is not reserved for extraordinary deeds, but can be found in the simplicity of daily life. Her little way remains a beacon of hope, showing that even the smallest acts of love can bring us closer to God. The legacy of the incorrupt saints. The incorrupt bodies of Catholic saints stand as awe-inspiring symbols of faith, perseverance, and divine mystery. Each of the saints we've explored lived a life deeply rooted in love for God and service to humanity, leaving behind not just incorrupt bodies but legacies that continue to inspire millions. From Padre Pio's miraculous stigmata to Saint Thérèse's little way, these saints remind us that holiness comes in many forms. Some found God in tireless acts of charity, like Saint Vincent de Paul, while others, like Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, spread devotion through mystical visions. Despite their differences, they all shared an unshakable faith that transcended worldly limitations. The incorruptibility of their bodies is not merely a scientific marvel, but a profound testament to the power of grace. Pilgrims from around the globe flock to their relics, seeking intercession, healing, and a deeper connection to the divine. These saints challenge us to reflect on our own lives, inviting us to pursue a path of love, humility, and unwavering faith. As we marvel at the enduring presence of these holy figures, let their lives inspire us to strive for our own spiritual transformation. Their stories continue to illuminate the path to God,